No problem.
You mind if I do this?
I'm sorry?
You mind if I?
No.
Are you sitting here, I guess?
Yeah, I guess we'd sit here, otherwise I look real short. So. Thanks for coming here today. My name is Carl Kinski. I'm the prosecuting attorney for St. Genevieve County, and with me here today is Police Chief Eric Bennett with the St. Genevieve City Police Department. The state of Missouri, through the St. Genevieve County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, has charged this date Curtis L. Smith, age 52, with murder in the first degree of Christy S. Murphy. According to the probable cause statement filed with the charges, Ms. Murphy's body was discovered in the bathtub of a room at the Microtel in St. Genevieve, Missouri on November 17, 2012. The probable cause statement further indicates that Mr. Smith and Ms. Murphy met in October of 2012 at University Hospital in Columbia, Missouri. Mr. Smith was treated for homicidal ideations and post-traumatic stress disorder. Ms. Murphy was treated for depression following a possible suicide attempt. Mr. Smith is presently incarcerated at the Eastern Reception and Diagnostic Center in Bonne Terre, Missouri, where he is serving a life sentence for murder in the second degree. He was on parole at the time of the death of Christy Murphy. St. Genevieve County Associate Circuit Judge Timothy W. Inman issued a warrant for Mr. Smith's arrest and a set bond at $250,000. Mr. Smith's next court date is March 5th, 2013 for announcement of counsel. These charges are the result of an investigation by the St. Genevieve City Police Department, assisted by the St. Genevieve County Sheriff's Office and the St. Genevieve County Coroner. I want to emphasize that the charge of any offense is not evidence, and Mr. Smith is entitled to the presumption of innocence unless and until he is found guilty in a court of law. I will try to answer whatever questions you may have at this time.
Maybe you could talk about the autopsy results and when you got those back. I know that maybe you can just talk about that just a little bit.
Well, I can't go into much detail, in part because I'm not a forensic pathologist, but we received the autopsy about 2 weeks ago. The forensic examiner, Dr. Russell Dedeker with Mineral Area Regional Medical Center, has decided that the cause of death and the manner of death are unknown. He expressed concerns that given the high level of alcohol and of controlled substances, legal controlled substances in Ms. Murphy's system, that she may not have been capable of committing suicide. However, he's not in a position to say that she wasn't able to commit suicide because of the high level, because she may have developed a tolerance.
Okay. And then perhaps, I don't know if you can talk to what's in the probable cause about the shower curtain. Can you talk about that at all as far as what appears to...
Well, I really don't have anything to add to what's in the probable cause statement.
Or just for TV purposes, maybe just explaining that it's alleging that it appears that he used the shower curtain.
Well, according to Mr. Smith's statements in the 911 call, she had tied a knot around her neck and had hung herself. When law enforcement officers arrived there at the motel, there was not a knot, and she was found lying on top of the shower curtain. That's all reflected in the probable cause statement that has been filed with the court.
So believe that he could have used the shower curtain as the murder weapon?
Yes, and one of the counts, I believe count 2, is armed criminal action, where we have alleged that he used a weapon, in this case, the shower curtain.
Why the delay in filing charges?
Well, much of the delay was caused by waiting for the autopsy results to come back. We had to subpoena records on the victim, Ms. Murphy, so that Dr. Dedeker could look at those records and decide whether she may or may not have developed a tolerance, among other things.
Has this gentleman procured a attorney, or will he be seeking the public defender's office?
Shortly after the body of Ms. Murphy was discovered, the public defender's office in Farmington provided the police department with what's called a reverse Miranda form, which is basically a statement saying, do not talk any further to Mr. Smith without our permission. So I anticipate that the public defender's office will represent Mr. Smith.
I'm hoping too you can talk a little bit about his past. I mean, obviously we know that he went to prison for, I don't know if you recall, is it 25 years that he served? Is that about right?
According to VineLink, the sentences were for life and then concurrent 7-year sentences. And I believe he served in excess of 25 years in prison before being released on parole.
In 2010? Is
Yes.
that right? Okay. So I'm sure that caught your attention and caught investigators' attention, knowing that he had already served time for murder. That was a big factor.
Well, it was a factor, to be sure, and it certainly caught our attention.
Okay. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the panic call, as far as talking about what's in the probable cause, about, I guess, there had been a call that was made.
Yes, again, as reflected in the probable cause statement, at the microtel, if you dial 911 from a motel room, a panic alarm will go off at the front desk. And again, as reflected in the probable cause statement, the attendant at the microtel, the front desk attendant, after she received the panic call, went to the room 221, and there was no response at all in spite of her repeated knocking on the door.
Based on his history, has a mental defect plea been discussed?
No, it has not been discussed, but I have had essentially no discussions with the attorneys who I think will be his defense team.
What about the family? I'm sure you've been in contact with Christy Murphy's family. I'm sure they're aware of the charges. Any thoughts on how they're holding up throughout all of this?
I don't want to even speculate on how the family of a murder victim can hold up or how well they're holding up. I know it's a family, so there probably is a range of reactions among the various family members.
And, I'm sure that they probably, just from talking with some of them at one point, they didn't want to believe that their loved one had killed themselves, and no one would ever want to believe that. So I'm sure in a way they're probably glad to know that you guys are doing everything that you can to get answers for them.
Well, I can't comment on how they feel about the situation or the court process.
But maybe you can talk, and I don't know if you would be willing to say anything, Chief, just about, when you have a case like this, even though it appears that it might have been suicide, you don't give up on something like that, and you have to keep searching for the answers.
Yeah, and we typically will investigate any claim of a suicide as a homicide until we can determine otherwise, just to rule out any potential crime that was committed that was masked as a suicide.
And you don't have a lot of homicide cases that happen in this town,
No.
correct?
No.
So this is, for you guys, when you have something like this, it doesn't happen every day, so you probably want to make sure that you are taking everything and picking it apart.
Right. Absolutely.
Maybe you can talk just about your role.
Move this microphone, actually. I can still hear it. Sorry, guys.
That's right.
All right. Perfect. Maybe not perfect. Now it's
Better. Yeah, maybe you can talk just about your role. I'm sure you've been involved, and your department's been involved since day
Yeah,
one.
our investigators and myself have been involved in conducting the investigation. As Prosecuting Attorney Kinski mentioned, there's a lot of paperwork as far as subpoenaing records, different agencies that have had involvements that have delayed some of our investigation. So it's just trying to get everything put together now and make sure we've got everything, all the information that is necessary for this case.
And obviously, the responding officers, you know, they didn't just go in and just assume that it was one thing. Clearly, they did, you know, a lot of investigating when they were there and were keen on things that seemed out of place.
Yes, the responding officers, I think, did a very good job and contacted the supervisors immediately to turn over the investigation and further the investigative efforts pretty early on, so that was definitely beneficial in the case.
Because it looks like, you know, they were suspicious from the beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other questions?
Do you have a quantifiable amount in terms of level of alcohol or drugs in your victim system?
Yes, I don't know it off the tip of my head sitting here now, but I believe the autopsy indicated that it was above .2. Yes,
And you said the others were legal controlled substances.
I believe they were medicines that Ms. Murphy was taking.
The probable cause statement includes a conclusion. Would that be attributed to the chief or is it a different member of your department?
I believe.
We assisted the police department in preparing the probable cause statement in this case.
Because it does say that based on the information brought by the leading decision that goes on to who that's attributed to.
So it was
Lieutenant Crump is actually the submitting officer.
So that'd be the conclusion based on his beliefs.
Correct.
And again, just talk about the fact that he's going to be brought to St. John. I assume he'll be held in the county jail.
Yes, my understanding is that had charges not been brought against him, he would have been released from the prison in Bonne Terre in the next month or 2 months, having completed his sentence. We therefore have issued the charges. He will be brought on a writ to St. Genevieve County on March 5th to make an announcement as to who his attorney will be and to start the court procedures.
Because he was being held on a marijuana charge.
He was being held on a misdemeanor marijuana charge, which we've now included in the new charges that were filed this day. Well, if there are no further questions,
I have just one more, and you can answer this or not, but
thanks.
do you feel, I mean, this guy, it seems like he's screaming for help. He's saying here in his PC statement he needs treatment. Why was he walking around in society in the first place?
I do not have an answer to that question, but I also want to say I'm not in a position to cast blame on anybody either. I would agree that there's indications that Mr. Smith had tried to talk with various authorities and did receive some treatment for what he said were mental problems he was undergoing. But I make enough mistakes on my own that I don't need to second guess other agencies or entities.
Yeah, I don't know if you've, been in contact with I think the prosecutor in the Greene County case is now a judge. I don't know if there was any reason or if you've heard why they went with the plea deal in his initial case.
Well, the only information I have on the Springfield case, the Greene County murder case that the defendant is now serving time for, comes from court documents and police reports. I have not talked with the prosecutors who handled that particular case, so I can't really comment on that at all. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I never do that. I was at a loss for words.